All right. Good morning to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. I am your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And we back, y'all. We back. We back here doing this week in review. After a hiatus. But it's good to be back, and it is cool to be able to share some of the weekly goings on in entertainment and pop culture and the like. And I'm gonna have awesome gentleman joining me for the show. And it's an honor to be able to have him join me within as you all know the passing of our co-creator, Jerome Bourgeois. But as I said, it's great to have the gentleman that I'm about to bring on now, who will be stepping in and bringing his vibe, his energy. So without further ado, I like to welcome Spillman. What's going on, man? Let me bring him on. Spills,
Good
aka
morning. Good
Spills. What's going
morning.
on, man?
How's it going, everyone? Nice to meet you. It's great to be part of the Movers and Shakers team. I'm so happy to be here to talk to y'all today about some of these topics. Uh, Born in DC, I'm a good dude. I'm bigger than anybody you ever met. I'm one of the funniest dudes you ever met. So hopefully, I know I got great big shoes to fill to help Brandon with this podcast. So I'm just happy to be here and talk about the topics. I hope we're ready to get this thing going, Brandon.
All right. Let's do the do. Let's do the do. So again, thanks again, man. Exciting to have you, on board, and having you join us with this, recap show. And just to hit the ground running, I want to start by talking about our first story, and perhaps you saw it over on our website, but it's been making the rounds over the course of this week. And that's none other regarding the R&B artist Kenny Lattimore. So let me pull that up now. So over the course of this week, Kenny Lattimore, DC native, he reached number one on the Billboard charts with his hit single "Take a Dose." And what makes it such a cool story is that Kenny has been at it for a while, been in the music game for a while, and he actually reached number one before, more than 25 years ago, believe it or not, with the single known as "For You," which, from my understanding, is I don't know if you were privy to this, Spillman, was a big anthem apparently when it came to weddings. So what are your thoughts on having Kenny, again, DC native, both of us, we here reside in the DC metropolitan area, having him reach number one on the Billboard charts, and to be specific, he reached it on the adult R&B charts. So what are your thoughts, man?
Well, as a man of a certain age, being
Yes.
a guy that makes that kind of music, we at our point in our lives where we got to have foot rub music. We got to have music that we play in our homes that make people feel comfortable, that set a mood, and Kenny's right there with it. I remember I
Right,
saw
right.
that Jordan documentary, and they made a meme of it where Jordan was having the best time of his life, and he had to get himself together. And Kenny made the music that got him together. You've seen the meme where he take the earphones off, and he said, "Aha, I'm listening to Kenny Lattimore." Then he start jamming. Oh, yeah, that Kenny Lattimore is a great musician. I love his music. I like his vibes. I'm trying not to be so bang bang shoot 'em up anymore. So I try to smooth it out a lot more now. Because I gotta keep my life happy, keep my girl happy. So Kenny's the kind of music I'm listening to these days. I'm listening to that adult contemporary because we adults now. We are adults, and once we become adults and once we start moving and shaking in the right ways, you gotta play a certain kind of ambiance, and that's the kind of thing that Kenny brings to the game. He brings a certain ambiance that is truly magnificent, and it's good to also see. You could get to the mountaintop once. that's great. But if you go back to the mountaintop, you the man. So I applaud Kenny on being able to reach that mountaintop again, because that's what we trying to do, man. We're trying to reach the mountaintop multiple times. We're not just trying to go once, look around, smell the air, come back down, say it wasn't nothing in there. We want to say, oh yeah, we go to the mountaintop all the time. That's where we get our sage advice, and that's how we promote our great music. So um, this is great. Also, it's good for a DC native. We kind of run the music game with the DC people. Him, Ari Lennox, what's your girl's name? Rico Nasty, all those people from DC, and they all doing big things in the music game. So it's good to see Kenny doing that. Uh, that HUR programmable music, as you would say. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, no doubt, man. As I said, the reason why I wanted to do this story is, just the idea that, I always want to show love to, folks that reside out of our, out of DC, out of the DC metropolitan area. And,
Hmm.
when it comes to music, music is such a, a fickle industry, and that, it doesn't matter how many hits or successes you have. Is really all similar to what I feel sports is, where is what have you done for me lately. It doesn't matter,
Exactly.
maybe 5 years ago, you were at the top of the summit as an artist, and then 2 years down the line, after being in the game, 5 years later, I should say, you're already, have a different artist that has taken the genre by storm, or the industry by storm. So you
Hmm.
know it's always cool to really put a highlight, as I said, on an artist who's not only from our area, but in that particular industry, where you really have to continue to hit the pavement and continue to go at it. Like I said, this current track, this current single, has been on the top of the Billboard charts. And as I said, more than 25 years ago. That's maybe 2/3. It's hard to say 2/3, not even a whole my whole our whole lives, respectively, for
Yeah,
both of us, but at
mostly.
least 2/3, we could say,
Yeah,
of our respective lives. And that's a long time to be in the music game, man. And to still be doing your thing. So
yeah.
shout out to him, congrats to him. I know he had recently talked about of he recently had a child of his own. Believes he had a daughter recently. So shout out to all the things that are going on personally for him, in his personal world, and also with his career in music, and keep on keeping it on, man, for sure. All right, so switching gears, I guess, somewhat. Uh, Still being in the music game, but talking about some other things. I wanted to switch gears with Rihanna. So we just had her performing at the Super Bowl, right? So not too long ago, she was doing her thing on in the big game, and it looks like she not only will just had just done her thing in the big game, but she's also going to be doing her big thing in perhaps the biggest event that we have in Hollywood, and that's none other than the Oscars. So just to give you a quick rundown, on that. Uh, multi multi platinum, as you see in the title, multi platinum artist, non-time Grammy Award winner Rihanna is set to perform her Oscar-nominated song "Lift Me Up," which as you guys know, unless you've been living under a rock, because they play it all the time, they've been playing it everywhere. It's from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So tell me, man. What are your thoughts on having Rihanna there, being able to perform this inspiring song? Like I'll admit it myself. In many, in I had a chance to see Black Panther, Wakanda Forever more than once, obviously, and it's amazing how the reactions to the song have been the same, where it's very emotional, and it's typically not a dry eye in the house when that song is being sung during the moment that it is being played in the song. So what are your thoughts on that? The Oscars, if I didn't share already, is set to air live on ABC Sunday, March 12th, so in a couple of weeks. But yes, passing it off to you, Spills. What are your thoughts on having that song and having her perform this song in a couple of weeks at Hollywood's biggest night?
Well, I'm completely excited to see Rihanna perform this song at the Oscars. Normally, I don't tune into the Oscars for the song of the year unless it's a better song, because usually it'll be a song from a movie where it's just like a score song, and it's like, those are okay. We like score songs. Score songs are great. They're great on like certain soundtracks and stuff, but we need a song that they play on the radio that people enjoy, like they used to do in the '90s. Back in the '90s, the songs of the movies were big songs that played them on the radio, like Whitney Houston and those kind of people, following those kind of people's footsteps. So I'm just excited to see her get her success. But I do want to take a moment to have a moment of silence, because we all saw what happened on the Super Bowl, and we all know what's about to happen. So let's take a moment of silence. Okay, that's a moment of silence for that new album that Rihanna said she was going to do, that we've been asking her for. But clearly, she is with child, and she's happy, and she got ASAP Rocky with cool designs and his cornrows and stuff. So I don't think there's going to be another album. She's doing the Oscar thing. Generally, if I was a musician, I'd try to be doing movies. She was in that Battleship movie that one time. Maybe she's going to try and get her EGOT on. She could try to get an EGOT. Maybe we really should just hope that we get a stage show. That would be good, to go see a Rihanna stage show. That would be wonderful. Maybe Battleship, the stage production. Who knows? But I would like to, enjoy her at the Oscars. That's generally kind of a stuffy kind of a show. We like the Oscars, but they don't really give us good music all the time, except for that one time they had 3 6 Mafia on there. That was really good. We loved when 3 6 was on there. So we just like to see them shake it up and bring, because the Oscars, it'd be movies that we don't really watch. It's always art house movies. I like to watch art house movies. I'll go to East Street Cinema and have a popcorn and watch a art house movie. But it's good to see Rihanna making some strides, and hopefully she'll get two of them EGOT things, and then she'll get a TV show and a Tony, and the next thing you know, she got that EGOT. So hopefully we can get another black EGOT member, because I think it's only like 6 EGOTs.
For sure, man, for sure. I guess for me, it's an incredible song. Just first and foremost, and you know, for what is it? Um, Memes aside, I'm just gonna say this: y'all were wrong. A lot of y'all internet, y'all were wrong for what y'all did on Rihanna with the what is it, Smash Brothers, all those Smash Brothers
Hmm.
themes that they have in the Super
Definitely.
Bowl. Y'all wrong for that, but love Rihanna. And then I guess also, um, let me see, Phase 4. I guess I would say Phase 4 of the MCU. If we're picturing the different phases of the MCU, Phase 4 side of how divisive it's been, with his TV shows and with his movies. Um, we can all agree that Black Panther was not among those that were, divisive in terms of a hallmark. It has been among, not just that phase, but across the board among all the MCU films that we've had. So I'm looking forward to seeing her perform. I understand this is going to be her first, if she wins, her first Oscar for a song. So that's huge. It was
Huge.
cool to see her win and to see Angela Bassett win. I'm picturing she's going to
Yeah.
win her award.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But it's cool to see um her perform at the show. It's cool to see a song that is out of the MCU making its way to the Oscars. So many times we always see superhero films get kind of put down and considered that they're not on the same plateau as another given Oscar film, but we're proving it time and time again that they are at the same caliber with the nominations that have not just happened this year in terms of like the award season with Angela Bassett, but in the past as well with other performances that we have, not necessarily in the MCU, but with superhero films in general. So I'm looking forward to it in a couple of weeks. I don't know if you're caught up on a lot of your films. There's still some films I need to catch up on myself. That I have a feeling will likely win, but shout out to Angela Bassett. As I said, I have you winning, and I also have Michelle Yeoh and company winning for Everything Everywhere at Once. So really looking forward to it. But be that as it may, do you have any final thoughts before we move on to our big story?
Oh no, no, I don't. I think we could move on to that next story, big dog.
All right, cool beans. So, switching gears to our last story. This is going to be a relatively short show, guys. As we continue on, week by week, we may have shows that extend a little further. But figuring since this is the first show back, that we keep it pretty simple. But as I said, if you guys have any thoughts or opinions, make sure that you guys share it down in the comments below. Even if you catch it, after the fact, catch this episode after the fact. But with that being said, I want to hop into our last story, which you guys probably saw in the title, and that's regarding, speaking of the MCU, none other than the film known as the Thunderbolts. Um, Over the course of this week, we had the news of a fan favorite alum from The Walking Dead, which is now concluded. We have none other than Stephen Yeun joining our group of the Thunderbolts. Right now, it is hasn't necessarily been confirmed on who he'll be playing, but um, I have some thoughts on that topic. Maybe you have some thoughts as well, Spills. So, you know, being that you are, our my co-host, and I want to, properly welcome you on this on your first show. I'll punt it over to you. Do you have any thoughts on who our friend may be playing?
So I don't really know who he's going to be playing. I don't think he's going to be playing. Is that Flatman? Do you remember Flatman from the Thunderbolts? I think Flatman's in the Thunderbolts. Or is that West Coast Avengers? I don't know. But I think he may be playing someone. I don't know who he's going to play. I think he might play. We already have Baron Zemo from the Thunderbolts. I remember Baron Zemo was in the Winter Soldier and Falcon show, and he was just as equally evil as he is in the comic books, but subtly evil. Not like evil where I'm just stealing stuff, but evil where I'm controlling people's minds, kind of stuff. So I enjoyed that. So I don't know who he could possibly play. Maybe he's going to play. Do you? I don't really know. Do you have any inkling of who he's going to play?
Yeah, I do actually. I do actually. So there have been rumors that the reason why we have the Thunderbolts there, obviously we would need to have someone for them to go up against that's comparable that will require all of
Uh
them. And
huh.
what's been making the rounds is the fact that it's going to be Sentry. Sentry
Oh.
is going to be from what's been making the rounds is that Sentry is going to be the villain. Now, if anyone knows their comic books, we know that Sentry looks a quite deal different.
Oh
Than
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's blonde and blue eyed. But
He looks like a Super Saiyan.
I always said when it comes to superheroes, I know people kind of get all up in arms about the character looking exactly like the character the way that they look in the comic books. But in my opinion, I always go with the idea that as long as the actor is able to bring the essence of who the character is to life, I'm not too much of a stickler of them being exactly to a T like the character and how they're portrayed in the comics. Um, Say what you will about what is it, the Ben Affleck Daredevil film, but Michael Clark Duncan was a great Kingpin.
Great Kingpin.
I enjoyed him as Kingpin, and don't get me wrong, I love Vincent D'Onofrio too. He's great, he's terrific. But at the time when we had a Kingpin, Michael Clark Duncan was that dude. Like he was that guy.
Yep.
Like, and I feel like if you felt any other way, divisive about any other element of that movie, you could not deny that Michael Clark Duncan was not among those issues with that movie, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
we've had many instances of that with other actors too, where like if we're trying to be a stickler about different appearances or how they are portrayed in the comics, we wouldn't have the awesome performances that we've had thus far with actors that have portrayed comic book characters. If we're really being a stickler about how the Joker is portrayed, we would have never had Heath Ledger as the Joker. If we're really being a
Mhm.
stickler about how Wolverine is portrayed, of him being super short,
Mhm.
ladies and gentlemen, we would have never had Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is not short, but he's an awesome Wolverine. So much
Right.
so that people, we're dragging him back to
Yep.
do Deadpool 3. So much so that we are dragging him back, kicking it. Well, I won't say dragging him back, but after such a long hiatus of picturing that we wouldn't have him back, he's making his way back after so much, and I'm sure they throw him a truckload of money. Don't get it twisted. I'm sure they throw him a truckload of money, but still, like it's cool to have actors that have been able to, you know, portray a lot of these iconic figures that we have in comics. And so, um, if he is in fact playing, and let me back up a little bit. If you guys aren't familiar with the character of Sentry, I'm assuming you are somewhat familiar,
Yeah,
Steve.
yeah, yeah. He's like a superhero, but
He's kind
he
of
ain't
like
all there.
Superman analog. If you guys
Yeah,
like
but
really.
he ain't all there.
Yeah, yeah, but like he's kind of like like I said, a Superman analog. But the thing that makes him so cool is like, his the if we're power scaling a lot of those characters, he's on par with like Hulk, if not arguably more so than Hulk, because if you guys know like some of the comic book runs, he actually fought against one of the strongest versions of the Hulk. If you guys know the storyline of I want to say it was World War Hulk, where he came
Mhm.
back to Earth and got his revenge on, and he was wrecking everybody.
Mhm.
Sentry was one of the few characters that fought him, if I remember correctly, fought him to a standstill, fought him to like to the point where like both of them actually um I'll check it again, and I'll put it in the comments to follow up. But I want to say they both like fought each other to a standstill in that story. So if Stephen Yeun is in fact playing him, that's terrific because he is an actor who's demonstrated that he has a lot of range. As I said, many may know him from The Walking Dead, but he's done a ton of stuff since then. He's an Oscar nominated actor. A lot of people don't mention that enough. And on top of that too, he was recently he's been doing his thing. He was recently in what is it? Nope. So,
Mhm.
he's been doing his thing, long after leaving The Walking Dead. So if he is in fact playing that role, I'll be interested to see what he brings to it. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Spills. I'm gonna try to pull up a picture of Century in the meantime, but go ahead. I'll pass it on to
Yeah, but I think that again, Stephen Yeun is a great actor. He kind of carried a lot of those seasons of the Walking Dead with himself and all those other actors in it. He gives a different look. I think that we should applaud Marvel. People talk about casting certain characters to look exactly like they do in a comic book, but I'd pay you money if you could find me one person who was like, "Oh, I'm a diehard Century fan," because Century is a ancillary character. You could put in pretty much anybody to play that character. It's Century. It's not like your mama knows who Century is. Your little cousin doesn't know who Century is. Like only super comic book nerds know it. So, I don't like that people try to act like people can't play different parts or that won't help. Like case in point, Nick Fury was a white man in the comic book, and now Samuel L. Jackson being Nick Fury totally made the character work on the film. I don't think they could have just found a random white guy who looked like him who would be as good an actor and as effective as portraying Nick Fury as a no nonsense gruff guy like Samuel L. Jackson did. So casting the best character, the best actor for the character is so important, and I think it also helps to have people have inclusion and be seen, and it helps for new creators to create new stories with these properties. So I just yeah, exactly. See, there's Century right there. See, he looks like a Super Saiyan. He looks like the guy that fought Superman in Superman 4, but he's kind of just a character that they have that's not like like the best, most popular character in the Marvel universe. So we could use a good actor to create him as a character. So bringing the character to life is more important to me than anything, because if you can bring a character to life, it really helps. Like that Yellow Jacket character on the Ant-Man movies, that was a guy that kind of looked like the character, but as he re-showed up, it kind of like shook everything up. I don't know if we can do some spoilers for some of that kind of stuff, having seen the Ant Man and Quantum Manium. Have you seen that yet, Brandon? Oh, you're not still here. So I'm gonna keep going. I really enjoy the Century stories though. The Century is always like an ancillary character. I don't even think that they've had a run of the comic books where Century is just like the main character. Um, I do like that they're using these characters. They've been so successful with it that they've got to go, and you can't fight Thanos in every movie because that's boring. We got to explore the universe, because that's one thing that Marvel's been very good about, building the universe out too, where they have different characters who do different things, and they they process different emotions. They explore different stories. People have been talking about how divisive some of the Marvel properties were in this Phase 4, but I disagree. I think I like that She-Hulk show, because I feel like that's how the She-Hulk comic book is written. She-Hulk is not the Incredible Hulk. They don't write her like the Incredible Hulk, so the show is not supposed to be like that. So I really, I actually personally like the direction that they've been going with a lot of these properties. The Falcon and Winter Soldier show is more like a spy beat 'em up type thing, which is more in the lines of how those comic books are written. So a lot of the people are expecting, like, people to be like like they say that Marvel is cookie cutter, but Marvel's actually not that cookie cutter when you look at it. Like that Vision and WandaVision show was like kind of like a love story and an homage, and that's really kind of what those Vision and that Wanda and Vision, that Scarlet Witch and Vision comic book was. It wasn't just that they were, you know, private eye detectives like Batman, because that's just not how those characters are written. So a lot of people, I feel like, are just being weird about how they look at things, and to me, I think that they focus on the wrong things with a lot of this stuff, because you can't write the same story over and over again. You can't have one thing for one audience all the time. You got to move it around. Like, I know personally, my sister was more into the WandaVision show than any of the other Marvel shows that have come out. Like, we've been talking to, I talked to her about them, and she's like, "Oh, I like the WandaVision because it had homages to things that I really liked, and it opened up that world." And if you read the comic books, you know that they don't do comic books just where it's always white guy shows up, is a superhero, fights bad guy, takes out bad guy with a bunch of punches and stuff. That's generally not how they do that kind of stuff. They break the fourth wall a lot. They talk to you. So if you actually are a connoisseur of comic books, these have actually been very close to what the idea of things are. So I don't care what the internet says. They're a bunch of sad people in their basements anyway. I don't really care.
No, I hear you, man, and I did hear you. I apologize. I
Oh no,
did
that's good.
see Ant-Man, Quantumania. I had some thoughts on it, which I'm
Yeah,
sure a
we
lot
can
of
come
people
back on
did.
that.
But I will say that for another day. But what I will say is, just as you said, it's always great to have, um, diversity in the roles that we're seeing, and to try to mix things up and switch things up a bit. It doesn't matter what as I said, what person you're having portray these iconic characters, as long as they're within the spirit of what the character is about and are able to establish that and portray that, then I don't have an issue with it. And then on top of that too, like talking about being a stickler, guys, when we're talking about adaptations, that's what they are. They're adaptations. What is the fun of seeing something that you've all seeing a story that you've already seen, when it can be switched up and kind of surprise you? So like, why have it completely the same if you already know how it ends? That kind of takes the fun out of it. So you know it's great, don't get me wrong, when there are things that you recognize. There's characters that you see, or story beats that you see, that are you know absolutely reflective to the T of what the original source material is. But it's also fun to see how they kind of put it on its head, and kind of switch up those expectations of what you're picturing it could be. And sometimes those new things that they come up with can be so much more interesting than the original source material and what they come up with. So um yeah, like I'm really interested. He may not be playing that character. He may not be playing Sentry, but right now, based on what they're saying of him, it being quoted that he, and I'm paraphrasing this, of course, of him playing an important role in the story, and having a character who may continue on in other stories. Hint, hint. It it it,
Right.
it, it points to the idea that he's going to be playing, a known character from the comics that will carry over into other phases of the MCU. But time will tell. We'll see if that turns out to be right, and if it is, as I said, I'm all for it, and I'll be interested to see what he brings to it. So, but closing off, Spills. Thank you so much, man. Welcome, 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 welcome. First episode of This Week in Review. Didn't think I'd be back, y'all. Didn't think we'd be back with this, but I'm glad that we are back. I didn't realize how much I missed having it back, to be able to kind of, spill, give my 2 cents of what's been going on, in entertainment over the course of the week. Um, just to guys give you an idea of some of the ways that you guys can enjoy some of our content or support us. Just know that we do have a Patreon. You guys can check us out on Patreon. You can follow a lot of our content with the hashtag TWnRMNSU, and of course. You can find us on all the other socials. So you can find us on Instagram, of course, at Movers Shakers Unlimited. You can find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD. Other than that, Spills, I'm gonna pass the baton over to you, man. Thank you again so much. Tell folks where they can find you, homie.
All right. Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram. I'm at Truly Spill, TRULY Spill. It's very simple. I'm there. You could look me up. I really am enjoying this opportunity to be a host of this Movers and Shakers Unlimited. I've been real good friends with Brandon for almost 10 years now. I think it's been about 10 years, hasn't it, Brandon? It's been a while. I've been watching him through all of these. Through all this progress he's made with this platform, and talk about entertainment. So I've always been bugging. I've been in his ear. When you gonna put me on? When you gonna let me get some time? With the people that love me, they need to see the big fella. So I'm just happy to be here, and hopefully we can talk about more of these crazy shows. Even back. I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but back to the superhero things. They don't do everything exactly right. If we talking about the Thanos story, which everybody loved, they changed it because they didn't have Silver Surfer because he's not technically in that property. So they had Hulk, and that made the character grow so much more. Instead of Hulk just being some crazy strong guy, now Hulk has a brain because Hulk got his butt whooped, and he started to think, man, I can't be strong all the time. I got to think. So it grew the story, and it made it so that we have a real reason for why there's a smart Hulk, and we can, and it grows the story a lot more. So I just think that you know people have to have their opportunities, and you got to trust these people. They've been making billions of dollars with these properties, so you got to trust them. They know what they're doing. They got Terrence Howard out of there when he was doing too much, so and it didn't hurt nothing. So trust and believe that they are making good decisions with casting. So That's all I got. That's my soapbox. I hope to be here soon. You guys get used to my face. I'm gonna be here all the time. So let's get it.
Let's get it indeed. And man, like you right. Like I didn't realize it really has been 10 years. Like
Yeah,
time really flies. We getting
yeah.
old,
Time
man.
flies. We getting old, so it's just
We
good.
getting up there.
We
But yeah,
get up there.
as I said, pleasure to have, Spills on board to, do this week in review with me. Um and speaking about, I'll get on my quick tangent real quick since you talked about MCU real quick.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I
There
do
you go.
I do appreciate how there have been things that they kind of switched up and touched on and kind of spun it on its head in terms of like some of those story beats that we've come accustomed to. But I will say this because like I'm willing to address the issues that people have when it comes to MCU, and there is a pattern of getting into um I want to say kind of like throwaway bad guys that we always have at the end or at the finale of a story, and it's starting to change now. It's starting to change now that we have some other avenues to do it, to tell these stories, especially now with like the Disney Plus shows. So it's been given license to try and experiment with other things. But for a while there, that was starting to become a thing that I was looking to Marvel to strive away from, and they are. Yeah, like I said, the TV shows have allowed them to experiment with some other things and to try some other story elements, which I appreciate. But be that as it may, again, like I said, once again, I want to thank Spills. I know he was talking about, oh, I've been trying to get on. To tell you the truth, I've been trying to get him on for real.
Oh yeah, it's
He don't
been
want
me.
to admit
It's
it,
been me.
but
It's been me.
he may feel that way on his end, but it was mutual. I've been trying to get him in on for a minute. So glad we finally able to make it happen. Um, I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me just down below at Twitter at Brandon Choi ENT, also on Instagram at Brandon Choi underscore ENT. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there. And as always, peeps, week in, week out. See you soon. Peace.
5 stars. 5 stars.